Okay, tons to get to today. Hillary Clinton has a terrible, awful, no good, very bad weekend, which is great because Hillary Clinton is a terrible, awful, no good, very bad person. So Hillary Clinton has a lot of boo-boos over the weekend. A lot of bad things happen. So we begin with Huma Abedin. So Huma Abedin, who's her gal pal, her gal pal. So her gal pal, Huma Abedin, who's her top aide, she apparently has now been linked, and this has been true for years, people had linked her to this before, to the Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs. That's her mommy was the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Muslim Minority Affairs. And Huma Abedin started working there about the time she became a White House intern. And while she was there, she specifically greenlit a piece that ripped apart Hillary Clinton's feminist agenda. There's a 1996 article arguing that single moms, working moms, and gay couples with kids should not be recognized as families. It also states that more revealing dress ushered in by Women's Lib, quote, directly translates into unwanted results of sexual promiscuity and irresponsibility and indirectly promote violence against women. So that's the whole short skirt means that you want to be raped argument. That was one of the articles that she published while she was the assistant editor there. The author asserted, quote, a conjugal family established through a marriage contract between a man and a woman and extended through procreation is the only definition of family that a Muslim can accept. And they say that pushing mothers out into the open labor market is a clear demonstration of a lack of respect of womanhood and motherhood. So that's not even just saying that if you dress non-modestly, that's now saying that if a woman works, that's a terrible thing. She was the editor at this journal at the same time all this was going on. Now, imagine for a second that you had a Republican who was the editor of a journal where they said women working was terrible and non-religious and horrible in every way. Imagine that for 1 second. You think that person would last 5 seconds in national politics? But Huma Abedin won't be forced to disassociate from Hillary Clinton. After all, no one would want that heartbroken relationship on their hands. So the media ain't going to force a divide between Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton. Abedin right now, she is saying that she played no formal role in the Muslim Journal, even though she was listed as an editor on the periodical's masthead for a dozen years. Not for 5 minutes, for a dozen years. They refused to say, by the way, whether she was being paid by the Journal at the same time. So that's pretty amazing that she was. So that's story number one. Hillary's top aide was the assistant editor on a journal that said that women should not work and that if women did work, it was a dishonor. So that's just lovely. Okay. Piece of news number two from the Hillary being terrible category. This just shows you how incestuous politics is. Paul Manafort was the campaign manager for Donald Trump until 5 minutes ago when he was ousted by Steve McBannon. And Paul Manafort is now under FBI investigation because Paul Manafort actually has deep and abiding links with the Russians and the Ukrainians. He apparently took like $13 million he didn't report to the federal government. He's under investigation, but he's not the only one under investigation. Also under investigation is a consulting group with whom he was linked. That would, of course, be the Podesta Group. The Podesta Group is run by John Podesta. It was founded by John Podesta. John Podesta is, of course, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman. So the Podesta Group is now being investigated for connections they have to Trump's campaign manager. So Hillary's campaign manager's group is now being investigated for its tie to Trump's campaign manager. If that doesn't say incest, I don't know what does, but it's bad news for Hillary Clinton, just showing more corrupt ties from Hillary Clinton. That's piece of news number two. Piece of news number three. Colin Powell came out and slammed Hillary Clinton. So Hillary Clinton has now said she's now blaming Colin Powell for her email server. Because when in doubt, Hillary Clinton blames the black guy. So Hillary Clinton says that the reason she had a private server is because she was having dinner with Colin Powell, and Colin Powell said, you know what you should do? You should set up a private email. And she apparently thought, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Okay, the reality, of course, is that what Colin Powell did while he was Secretary of State has nothing to do with what Hillary did. Colin Powell had a personal email address where he handled personal emails, and he had a government email address where he handled government emails, which is kind of how you were supposed to do it at the time. Later, they said, put it all in the government email so we can make sure that everything is safe so that people don't email you the wrong thing to the wrong email address. But Colin Powell said, I used to have one, not the other. I didn't have a private server. I had a private email address. Hillary says, no, that's why I set up a private server. So now Colin Powell says, look, I'm not going to get thrown under the bus on this thing. I am not interested in being her fall guy. So here's a spokeswoman for Powell's office issued a statement, quote, General Powell has no recollection of the dinner conversation. He did write Secretary Clinton an email memo describing his use of personal AOL email account for unclassified messages and how it vastly improved communications within the State Department. At the time, there was no equivalent system within the department. He used a secure state computer on his desk to manage classified information. The general no longer has the email he sent to former Secretary Clinton. It may exist in state or FBI files, although since she was using a private email address, rather doubtful. He was also asked by People magazine about whether he was the source of all of this, and he said, no, Hillary Clinton's just trying to use me as a fall guy. So, well done, Hillary Clinton. She's desperately trying to drive out the black vote, and she pissed off one of the leaders in the black community, Colin Powell. So that was a bad piece of her weekend. So that's story number 3. Story number 4, Hillary Clinton had to announce over the weekend that the Clinton Foundation is going to stop taking foreign and corporate donations. Now, if that sounds familiar, that's because Hillary Clinton has done that before. In 2008, the Clinton Foundation said that they would no longer accept donations from this. Here's what the Clinton Global Initiative said, okay? This is a memorandum of understanding that was signed by Foundation CEO Bruce Lindsay. There's a memo of understanding. Should Senator Clinton be confirmed, this 2008, should Senator Clinton be confirmed as Secretary of State, the Foundation will incorporate CGI, the Clinton Global Initiative, as a separate entity from the Foundation. President Clinton will continue in his role as principal host and be identified as CGI's founding chairman, but he will not serve as an officer or director of the newly established entity or otherwise serve as fiduciary on behalf of CGI. CGI will also suspend plans for CGI international events outside the United States during any service by Senator Clinton at the State Department. Apart from attendance fees for CGI, CGI will not accept contributions from foreign governments. Did that happen? No, that did not happen. No, that did not happen. In November, the foundation had to restate 6 years of tax documents to account for previously undisclosed revenue from foreign governments. So, that's bad news piece number 4 for Hillary Clinton. The Clinton Foundation is obviously a pass-through for the State Department. Basically, there's a massive pay-for-play deal going on. People would give money to the Clinton Foundation, and then they'd get favors from Hillary Clinton. So that's bad piece of news number 4. Bad piece of news number 5 for Hillary Clinton. I mean, this thing really stacks up. Bad news piece number 5 for Hillary Clinton. According to the Daily Caller, apparently there was $6 billion, with a B, billion dollars in contract mismanagement, fraud, and incompetence that happened under her watch at the Department of State. That's according to the Cause of Action Institute. They say the total value of the contracts reviewed by the Inspector General exceeded $6 billion. Many of those cases arose during the tenure of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. So she basically blew $6 billion on waste and frauds. That's piece of bad news number 5. Piece of bad news number 6. So, just now, I mean, this broke today, the FBI has now said that they have uncovered 15,000 undisclosed emails in the Hillary Clinton probe. 15,000. So you remember, she turned over 30, and she said, that's all I have to turn over. That's all there is. That's all there is, right? All there is 30,000 emails. The rest I destroyed because they were all about yoga. And look at my fine physique and my tight booty, and you can tell how much yoga I've been doing. And the FBI laughed and laughed and laughed, and they said, yeah, she's probably right, because they're corrupt. So the FBI has now uncovered almost 15,000 previously undisclosed documents sent directly to or from Hillary Clinton, according to State Department's lawyer. They confirmed that before a federal judge on Monday. The documents, according to The Hill, were found during the course of the FBI's investigation into the Democratic presidential nominee's use of a personal email server during her time as Secretary of State. The number is 50% more than the 30,000 she said that she turned over. I love this part. It remains unsettled whether the full set will be out before the presidential election on November 8th. They say they're going to reveal some of these in October. Unclear whether they're going to reveal all of them before October. Here's the good news as far as that goes. I mean, it's not really good news, but it's true. If the FBI has these emails, so does WikiLeaks. So you can assure that all of these will be out before November. So that's, 6 pieces of bad news, all breaking over this weekend, all demonstrating that Hillary Clinton is corrupt, that her aides are radical or associated with radicals, that she's deeply in bed with all of these foreign governments, including people like the aforementioned Nigerian Lebanese business person, Chiguri, who gave a bunch of money to the Clinton Global Initiative and then was ushered into kind of the inner sanctum of the State Department. And now we're learning that he was also deeply associated with Mark Rich. You may remember Mark Rich. He's the guy that Clinton pardoned just before the 2000 election in order to sort of buy off a block of votes in New York for his wife in her senatorial race. I mean, the Clintons are so corrupt. They're so insanely corrupt. And now there's this whole new tranche of emails that is apparently going to break. None of that is good news, of course, for Hillary Clinton. All of that is very terrible news for Hillary Clinton. And Donald Trump, he actually hit hard on this. So Donald Trump came out and he gave a statement. He said the Clinton Foundation needs to disband. Here's Donald Trump saying that on Fox and Friends this morning.
Well, number one, they should shut it down. Number two, they should give the money back to a lot of countries that we shouldn't be taking and they shouldn't be taking money from. Countries that influenced her totally. And also, countries that discriminate against women and gays and everybody else. I mean, that money should be it should be given back. They should not take that money.
Honestly, do you think that'll happen?
It should happen, whether or not it will. They're very greedy people, so maybe it won't, but it should happen.
And that, of course, is exactly right. Donald Trump is right on the money. The Clinton Foundation should be shut down. It is a scam. It is a corrupt organization that was used as a pass-through by Hillary Clinton and her cronies. Trump also went after Huma Abedin. He said, look, to pretend that Hillary didn't know all this stuff about Huma Abedin when they've been working together for literally about 2 decades is just insane. Here's Donald Trump going after Huma Abedin.
And today the Clinton camp answered and said her name was just on there. She didn't really do anything. She had no formal role, as the exact quote, of the Radical Muslim Journal.
And her mom's the editor, is that right, Brian?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's interesting because, of course, that's terrible and it shouldn't happen, and it's a lie. It's another lie that they tell. But what about the fact that Huma Abedin, who knows every single thing about Hillary Clinton, she knows more about Hillary than Hillary knows, and she's married to a pervert sleaze named Anthony Weiner, who will send anything that he has out over Twitter or any other form of getting it out. I mean, she's married to Anthony Weiner. She knows everything that Hillary Clinton is doing, and she's married to a guy that has no control over himself.
Okay, and that's, of course, 100% true again, because the whole relationship between Huma Abedin and Weiner and the Clintons, it's really weird, and it's kind of odd. Like, how is it that, I mean, this is like a real religious question. Huma Abedin is a religious Muslim. I mean, she talks about it. She married a Jewish guy. That's kind of weird. It's very rare that happens. It's actually more usual that if you're going to have an intermarriage between Muslim and Jew, that the man is a Muslim and the woman's a Jew. But to have a Muslim woman marrying a Jewish man is at the very least statistically unusual. The whole situation just reeks. No, the whole thing is just odd, and there would be questions asked about this if Huma Abedin were not close to Hillary Clinton, right? If Huma Abedin were a Republican, these sorts of questions would be asked on a routine basis. She's a Democrat, she's close to Hillary Clinton, and therefore everybody sort of ignores it. Well, that's all the time we have here on Facebook Live and YouTube. If you want to subscribe, go to dailywire.com. That allows you to see the whole thing in video form. You can see my lovely face. You can see all of the videos that are associated with the show. And you can also be part of the mailbag, our vaunted Ben Shapiro Show mailbag, the greatest mailbag of all mailbags. That comes up on Thursday. So go to dailywire.com for the subscription, and make sure that later today you download the rest of the podcast at iTunes or SoundCloud, the #1 conservative podcast in America, The Ben Shapiro Show.